Welcome to the Nobles Talk Show. It's a great day. It's a wonderful day. And for the first time on set, we have a guest. Why? Because today is very important and it's going to be an interesting day with a lovely topic about religion and how it affects us based on the fact that in the past, religion was part and parcel of public schools. But as years go by, we found out that religion no longer is part of public schools, no longer being taught in public schools. So before we dive into how this all unfold, I would like the guest to introduce himself to us.
Thank you for having me on the show. My name is Bill Wanja, and I'm a pre-med student and aspiring medical doctor to primarily become a dermatologist. And I'm in my final year of pre-med, and I've been studying on the topic of religion in public schools. And it drew my attention to the fact that there is a contrast between how the culture was pre-1960 and how it was post-1960. And what I noticed was the main thing that happened in those years was the removal of religion in public institutions. So I think we're going to have a great discussion today about this topic, and I hope the viewers will be edified by what we had to find out, and maybe they'll take into account some of the propositions we have about adjusting some of these have a better culture around us.
Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and also share so that this noble show family is going to grow bigger. So, what can you tell us from your studies about religion in the days past and how it is right now in reference or in regards to public schools?
So, I won't say I'm very interested in this topic, but what I can say is that I came prepared with little snippets of information that can maybe point us to the right direction in understanding why our culture has changed so much over the years and how religion has to do with this change. So I'll start by saying that what we notice is that on average, children spend 6 to 7 hours in school and they spend 2 to 4 hours with their parents at home. So the school has the kids for majority of the day. So a child can be from maybe 2 to 18. They spend more time with the school than they spend with their parents. And what we know is children usually inherit the values of the people they spend their time with.
True.
And if we get to a point in society where religion is taken out of schools, we now know that the moral values that the children inherit definitely comes from where they spend most of their time. And they spend most of their time in schools, and they spend most of their time online. So parental influence on the morals that a child inherits is reducing as time goes by because there's more time spent at school and on social media compared to the time spent with parents. And that's why this issue of religion is a big problem, because over the years when religion was taught in schools, public institutions used to start the day with a prayer. They used to take scripture and put them in between maybe greetings in school. I remember very well when I was going to school, there was this scripture that they taught us. They said, God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. Every time a professor came into the class, we had to greet, then recite the scripture. And sometimes we had to start the day at school at an assembly with everybody praying, which taught us the morals, the basic Christian values. We grew up with the morals of a Christian. But now in society, you have maybe a lot of children going to school and they learn one thing at home. We talked about the time they spend with parents is maybe 2 to 4 hours active time spent with parents. Then they go to school and they unlearn because they spend 6 to 7 hours at school, and you know that something you spend more time doing is what you develop to become a habit. So when they stay at school and these values are not reinforced at school, it becomes a problem in society on a long run.
That's very true. Actually, when you talked about back in the days where religion was being taught in schools, I can remember when I was probably in the primary level, even the secondary level, when we go to school, there were days, Mondays, Wednesdays, we have an assembly, and we always begin with a prayer. This in itself, it made students to understand there is a supernatural power, and that being alone needs to be respected. That people need to come to the knowledge that their existence is because of a God. So there was this information that is being passed unknowingly to every student. And we all came to that consciousness that there is a God. And in that respect, morals was being taught. I also remember we had religion actually being taught in class. And if we look at religion, it in itself teaches morals. And when we look at today's generation, you will see there is lack of respect coming from the students to the teachers. I actually watched a video on YouTube. This young man walked up to the teacher, gave her a couple of slaps. I'm like, where has the morals disappeared? Because religion actually teaches us how to respect our senior, how to respect authority. With the religion being taken out, so much of these things have disappeared because the kids are not being taught, especially from kindergarten level right up to the university. That's why we have more activities going the wrong direction rather than the right direction. So can you give us an information on when all this unfolded, how religion was taken out of the public schools in the United States of America?
So you're very correct about what you said, and there's a very common scripture that says, teach a child the way he should grow, and when he grows, he won't depart from it. The childhood stage is very important to acquire moral and acquire an identity. If children don't get the morals from their parents, if children don't get the morals from the values their parents want for them, they'll get it from somewhere. And most of the times, taking out religion from schools, what it has done is, it has given the moral upper hand to the instructors. So now the children get their morals from the instructors.
So they can teach whatever they want,
Yes.
and the kids will grab it.
Yes. And what you have to understand with this is that if the children get their morals from the instructors, do we trust every instructor that walks into a classroom? What is the vetting process? Do the parents agree with the morality of the instructors? But then we'll dive into a little bit of history, where we'll see that 3 cases that are brought here with me are the things that shaped the removal of religion from public schools, and not only public schools, public institutions. And you see that religion, especially Christianity, was the foundation of the United States. True. In the early 90s, in the early 1900s.
And the Constitution actually, it's kind of governed around religion, specifically Christianity.
Yep. And we always coined the phrase, one nation under God. The God that they were talking about in this phrase was God, the God in Christianity. So most people will want to disagree, and I know there's this phrase where people say, hey, America is a nation of immigrants, which is true. But one thing we have to know is when you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. Of course, you do what the Romans do. So we'll dive into a little bit of history, and there are 3 key figures. I came here prepared with 3 key figures that changed and took out religion from public schools. The first one was Vashti McCollum. Vashti McCollum was an atheist. And what we know about atheists is atheists believe that there is no God. And Vashti McCollum was also a humanist. But now, we can't just talk about the names without knowing what these people did to contribute to the removal of religion from public schools. The first thing with Vashti was that, if I can brief on that, she had a case against the Board of Education in 1948, which was taken to the Supreme Court. And the case was about removing outside religious instructors from teaching religion in public schools, majorly Christianity. And the case became the first major case used to ban religious instructions in public schools. Now, why do we focus on that case? Because that case was one of the cases that set precedents for other laws that were passed. And I would like to talk about a little segment before continuing with this history. The fact that as Christians, we believe that laws have to be obeyed. But again, as Christians, we fall short in being part of making the law. Yes, because we Christians are afraid of embarking in politics, embarking in lawmaking, embarking in businesses, and we all try to chase modest careers, which is good. But like we said, if you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. If we don't contribute to making the laws, then we'll have to live under the laws that someone else made. And that's what this bit of history is going to show us, that these three people, all three, none of them were Christians, but they were able to change the laws of the United States, or they were able to set precedents for the laws in the United States that affected Christians as a whole. So the Vashti case ended up with a Supreme Court ruling that outside instructors cannot be brought into public schools to teach religion. The second name on the list was Engel, where Engel in 1962 challenged the idea of opening the day with prayer. Engel was one of the pioneers of removing religion from public school because they targeted the opening prayer of the day. I don't know how someone gets to a point where they are so angered by an activity that they have to sue the school for that activity. So Engel was one of the people who challenged the idea of opening the day with a prayer. And they said Engel doesn't want any generic prayer. So when they sued the school, they noticed the Supreme Court passed a law then that they banned schools from using generic opening prayers, and they deemed it unconstitutional. Like we said at the beginning, the Constitution was founded
on Christianity.
Wow. And then this is where Engel now set precedent for the third case we're going to talk about, which is the Shem family. The Shem family, they were Unitarians. And what we know about Unitarians is that Unitarians believe that every religion, be it Christianity, Islam, Judaism, every religion on earth ties down to one. And they believe that there's one God with all religions. And they believe that scriptures are true, but they don't believe everything in the scripture. So Unitarianism takes all of every religion. But again, if there is a true God, the true God cannot be misinterpreted in every religion. So Unitarianism is actually off than all other religions because it tries to consider everything. It's just like Unitarianism can be empathy, because you just have to say yes to everything.
Yeah, you empathize with everything.
Yes. So Shem's family, they were Unitarians. And in 1963, they went against the Abington School District, where their case was built on the premise that many people in classrooms are taught religion without their consent. And the Supreme Court ruled that their verdict or position is right. And in Pennsylvania, during that time, they required daily Bible reading and recitations, like I told you of how we did. So that's where we had that culture from. The culture of reciting a Bible verse and daily reading of the Bible in school. So that was the problem that the Shem family had with religion in public schools. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, because after this case in 1963, that is the popular case that transformed the public school landscape by removing religion almost completely. Now, religion in some other schools is a subject that is taught. In some other schools, it is not taught. But before, it was not so. Before, religion, especially Christianity, they make exceptions for other religions. But now, the Christianity has been taken out of public schools, as we have seen.
You know, while you were talking, I was trying to get some information together. You know, it's surprising that the United States, when they swear in the president, they use the Holy Bible in swearing in the president.
Yeah.
Basically telling us that this country was founded on Christianity. But it's rather unfortunate that they do that and take away Christianity out of the public schools.
Okay.
And if you go deep down in the Bible, though they say we should be receptive to other people coming in, we shouldn't be receptive to their gods, meaning their religion. When you go to a place, you do what the Romans do, meaning if you're coming to America, you swear allegiance to what the Americans do. And I believe the change of culture, like the removal of religion, it was because other people came in and started instituting a different kind of ideologies or ideas into the minds of people. And I think that's where that kind of fight of taking out religion, because praying, I don't really understand why praying affects someone. Because that prayer to me is to help the entire nation or the kids in class. Narrowing it down to the after effects, what took place when religion was taken off. I can tell you the generation now, they're far gone from reality.
My generation.
Yeah, because most people haven't been to church. They don't even know how to say prayer, because they don't even know their nation was founded on Christianity.
Yes.
So it's really mind-baffling. So what can you tell me? What's the experience while you go to school now? What can you tell me on based on religion aspects?
So I throw back to a very common question that was asked one time in school, where they asked us how many people want to, grow up, get married, have kids. In a class of 24 and only 3 people raised their hands, and the 3 people, if I go in detail, most of them were Christians. All 3 were Christians. And this is the first time I never knew the word atheist till I came to the United States. It was a strange thing to me. Someone told me I'm an atheist. I was like, what do you mean by you're an atheist? They're like, oh, I believe there's no God. I'm like,
wow,
okay, you believe there's no God. They were like, oh, this. They kept giving me the scientific reasons. But again, when you give the scientific reasons, you notice the difference between life and death is just by snap. Science doesn't bring back life. There are people who die and science can't bring them back. So what is this thing that sustains life if there is no God? And they keep arguing and they keep talking about biology and all of that. I'm a biology student. I'm primarily a biology major, so I understand a lot of what they're talking about. But again, coming back to our topic, what we have noticed, you made an example talking about the president swearing in, people who come in, they swear in on the Bible.
Yep.
But we're talking about how culture changed when religion was removed from public schools. And this degree of tolerance, because the problem here is the fact that the country tolerates everybody that comes in, and their doctrines. Normally, tolerate everybody that comes in. You can accept everybody that comes in, but you're not supposed to change your doctrines to theirs.
Because it affects the culture entirely.
And majority of people that come in come from societies that have failed. And if societies have failed and you have to adopt their doctrines, then you're just a bomb that is ticking. Because you've adopted their doctrines, you are most likely to be like them sooner. So that's the first problem. The second one is, I just wanted to inform that right now, there are people who swear in with the Quran and other books, depending on their religion, in the United States.
Like what happened in New York with the mayor.
So what we have to understand is, since the removal of religion from public schools, it always takes a generation for things to start changing. So after the first generation that happened, things started changing, and that's what we have as problems now.
Wow.
And some of the effects of that, which is very common, the most and the basic one is moral decadence.
Very true.
Since children don't acquire their morality from their parents, they don't get morality from any standing adults who know what is right. They develop their morality from social media, they develop their morality from instructors. That is why we face a problem where parents can be in a home and the moral values of their children are completely different from that of the parents. And you can even get to a point where a parent is a Christian and their child says they don't go to church. That is the shocking part. I remember in our days, if dad leaves the house for church, everybody better be in the car for church. If not, you have big trouble. But now we get to days where everybody is allowed to choose, to pick and choose what they want. And that has even gone wild to the case where now children don't only choose their morals, they choose their genders. Which is something we'll discuss another time.
Yeah.
But now if you dive into that, you see that the morality has become fragile. Children can pick and choose what they want. And people, since people don't like a lot of accountability, they always tend to blame this institution. This problem is not a problem of a political party. This problem is a problem of moral being lost in the school system.
As a result of religion being taken off.
Yes.
Because I believe with religion in our public schools or institutions, there's going to be the aspect of morals being taught. There'll be the aspect of people not acting crazy the way they are acting now, because when you actually look at what's happening in the country right now, you realize these kids are not being taught the right things. They're not being taught what to do, when to do it, how to do it. There is no respect. People are acting even against the law and they believe what they're doing, it's right. Because from the beginning, they were not being taught the right things to do. So religion actually, to me, plays a very important role in every school, be it public or private. I believe when we look at the private sector, when it comes to education, we will see that most of those kids act even better than those coming from public schools. The percentage, I think, is going to be wider in the sense that they are being taught based on the Christian law and how to respect the laws of the nation. So coming to that, can you give us kind of like statistics or something you can link with the past and the present, making our viewers to know that there is indeed the importance of religion based on the origin of this country, because the Constitution circles around religion, and that's how this Constitution was put together. So can you tell us, taking it out, was it beneficial or not?
Hello everybody, today in the Nobles Talk Show we are taking a commercial break to advertise a product that we think will help you massively and edify you. We vet our products and we make sure that the products we are recommending actually transform lives. And today the product we're recommending is Heart to Heaven, a daily prayer journal produced by Franca Array, our very own Franca Array. If you go and order this book, it will improve your relationship with God. And you ask me, why will it improve my relationship with God? Is this book not like every book I buy? No. This book has daily scriptures, daily prayer points, and space with notes for you to write down the requests you made known unto God, for you to write down your prayer life, for you to be accountable to God. And it will help you to check how far you have gone with God in that particular year. It has specific days, enough space, so you can track your walk with God. And as we all know, as Christians, we are commanded to pray and meditate on the word daily. So this book is going to help you to achieve that goal. To order this book, you just have to go to Amazon and place a command. And this book is very affordable. It's in the region of $20 with shipping. So go order the book and see how your life will be transformed this year. Let 2026 be the year that your transformation begins. So if our focus is tolerance and empathy, it was beneficial. But tolerance and empathy will take you that far. And what we have seen from the study I've looked at is that statistically, removing religion from public schools and public institutions has been detrimental to the United States and the generations that proceeded after those years, the 1960s. Because a lot has happened since the 1960s.
And a lot has changed.
The United States currently is a shadow of its former self. United States used to be the country that showed everyone how it is done. But now, we have a confliction of our morals. We don't even know what our moral identity as a country is anymore, because there has been a lot of acceptance and integration. So much so that a lot of our doctrines have been changed and we have adopted foreign doctrines. As an immigrant, I can say for sure that the manner in which America respected Christianity, the manner in which America was built was the right way. But it has declined over the years. And statistically, pre-1960, because we're focusing on 1960, because that was the beginning of when the people attempted to take out religion from public schools. That's where the precedent started and the laws started being passed to remove religion from the public schools. So pre-1960, 90% of Americans identified as Christians.
Wow.
90% of Americans identified as Christians. Today, 63% of Americans identify as Christians. And now,
That's a decline.
That's a decline, but the bit that 26% of Americans don't identify with any religion.
Wow.
So you ask yourself then, what morality do they grow with? What morality do they adopt as they grow? And now, if you go even right in, you see that if we say 1 in 4 Americans, after the population has increased drastically, 1 in 4 Americans doesn't identify with any religion. We can say the same for the proportion of instructors in public schools. So that translates to the fact that children spend more with their instructors, and 1 in 4 of those instructors identify with no religion. So you can be a parent and you send your child to school with a Christian value, but then the child unlearns based on what their instructors have as values, because the instructor spends more time with the children than you do as a parent. Why? We're in a system where everybody has to work, which is good because the Bible too says, he who does not work should not eat.
Yeah.
So everybody has to work. But if you work and entrust the instructors with your children, you sure hope that the values that they transfer to your children are the values you want. But we have noticed that that is not what is happening currently in the United States.
Yeah, that reminds me of a video I did one time.
Yeah.
What kind of information do you consume?
Yep.
Because what you do not consume does not make you.
Yep.
What you consume actually makes you. So selecting the information you consume will give you will build you up to become what you need to become. That is very true, because looking at the society right now and the way our kids and the students from higher institutions behave, you will realize that what they get from the lecturers or the teachers in class is what makes them. And you realize that the majority of them are going towards the negative direction. That tells you that there has been a major decline in Christian morals in our institution as a result of the ban that was being instituted by the Supreme Court, taking out religion from our public schools. Fellow viewers, do not forget to like, subscribe, also share, so that this family grows bigger and we know what is happening and how we can get back to the foundation of what religion and the importance of religion it's all about. As we are all children of some parents. So what can you actually advise parents do when their kids come back from school?
So, like we have talked about, we spoke about the fact that 90% of Americans identified as Christians, and today is 63%. So what I can say is parents have to develop a hands-on approach. You have to know what that kid does during the day, and you have to test them to find out what values those kids have. Because what I've noticed is sometimes, since the parent goes to work and comes back and they're tired, you have to rest from work, so you barely have time to spend with your kid. And the kid who has learned so much from school, from their instructors, their friends, and all of that, they have developed habits, they have developed morals that don't align with yours.
Wow.
So what I recommend parents to do is to have a hands-on approach. Check to see that that kid is doing as you hope they should. Yes, because I remember for me personally, my dad used to check. He wants to know what type of friends I have. He wants to know what type of interactions I have. He wants to know how I think about different things. He'll throw up one at me. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And I have to answer. And when it doesn't match, he's going to tell me the right way it should be done. And it has turned out to be very beneficial for me, because now I see life in a different scope.
Sure.
Most children who develop values from social media, from school instructors, those people, some of them have the right values, don't get me wrong. Some instructors do have the right values, but some don't. So will you risk it? Will you risk the chance of giving your children to an institution and hoping that all of them have the right values, instead of developing a hands-on approach and shaping these values so that you produce better individuals for the society. Because right now we're in a chaotic time, and people think that we're in a chaotic time because the parents missed it. They didn't miss it in the fact that they missed the values. They missed it in the fact that they didn't see that the school shapes the values of these children rather than the parents.
Wow.
That's where because if you spend more time at school than time with your parents, definitely a part of you will coin to the identity of what you do in school compared to what you do at home. And some children, they even think about it this way: let me get home and do just the right things at home, then when I get to school I can do what I want. Because there's no barrier in behavior, because in school the morality in school is what you believe is right, but at home the morality is what the parents dictate to be right.
Wow.
Now, do we mean that the parents definitely get everything right?
No.
They don't, because human beings are not perfect. But there is no parent who wants to teach their kid
how to feel.
Every parent wants their children.
Now I see why homeschooling is kind of growing faster than the years past, because most parents realize that public schools are kind of drifting away from morals, and the kids are becoming worse than they used to be in the years past. Wow. So there's been a powerful one. Hopefully you guys are liking it. Please do share.
Yep.
Encourage others to subscribe, because this channel is going to be very impactful with wonderful series ahead. We're going to so many important things that are affecting our lives today, and we're going to look at it in an angle that people don't look at it, because the Bible says God spoke to Abraham that as far as you can see, I will give it to you. So we want to look with the eyes of God, looking at it further than what people actually see, because looking at the nation right now, people are being driven by emotion and they don't think realistically. So we want to analyze things realistically and dish it out to you. And we'll love to see you drop some comments. Tell us on what you think and how this issue of taking religion out of public schools, how it affected your life or how it affected the society around you. Please do drop some comments and don't stop sharing. Thank you once more. See you next time with another series. Shalom.